Donald Trump's White House isn't just in a state of chaos. It is also every man for themselves. Donald Trump is seeing his White House be pulled apart by different interests, different people trying to protect different ambitions. And the worst outcome yet is what we saw this morning. His Chief of Staff, Susie Walsh, going on the record in several interviews, in which she not only shredded Donald Trump and J.D. Vance and the entire cabinet, but exposed the Epstein list and the Epstein lie that he has been trying to hide. We are going to get into this new bombshell, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already, and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button, because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get into it, Wiles admitted about Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein exposing the secret he's been covering this whole time. I want to start with the reason why this is all happening, and it is because Donald Trump is so damn unpopular that his own Chief of Staff is throwing him under the bus. And Rachel Maddow broke all that down right here.
You know, red states don't like that either. And that's the local nightly news in Oklahoma. You know things aren't going great, my dude. In the latest AP polling, Trump is minus 36 on the economy. 31% of the country approves of Trump on the economy. 67% disapproves. So Trump on the economy is underwater by 36 points. On healthcare, it's even worse. He's underwater by 40 points. And that poll ended before today, which is the deadline for people to sign up for their health plans under the ACA, which is tens of millions of people in this country. And those plans, the prices of those plans, the premium costs are skyrocketing in price because of what Trump and the Republicans did in his so-called big, beautiful bill. What they did to destroy healthcare premiums in terms of how expensive they are. What they did, that overt policy change they made that costs everybody's health insurance premiums to go through the roof, that starts hitting people officially today. Trump and the Republicans caused it. They have not been able to fix it. And Trump is already 40 points underwater on healthcare even before that starts hitting people. I mean, there's a lot going on right now. And frankly, all of it that points back to the Trump administration and its own actions right now is basically a debacle. Right? We're going to talk about the huge mess and very public failures at the FBI in just a couple of minutes. But beyond that, at the VA, we've got the Trump administration cutting 35,000 healthcare jobs. Because Merry Christmas, veterans, that's what Donald Trump and the Republicans think of veterans' healthcare. They're cutting 35,000 doctors and nurses and other healthcare jobs at the VA. Merry Christmas. At FEMA, which has not exactly been distinguishing itself under the Trump administration, ask Texas, Trump is now putting in charge of the key emergency response division there, the Office of Response and Recovery. Trump is putting in charge of that a man who has no discernible emergency response experience whatsoever. But he is a guy who said the election was stolen from Trump, not only in 2020, but also in 2016. Now, you may recall, 2016 is an election Trump won. But this guy says that one was also stolen from Trump, even though Trump won it. Now his reward is that Trump is putting him in charge of running response and recovery for the U.S. federal government at FEMA.
This is a historically unpopular president. That is what Donald Trump is right now. He came into this administration trying to convince us, and doing so when it came to the mainstream media. Of course, the corporate media, business leaders, big institutions like universities who were willing to bend the knee, people on Wall Street. Donald Trump got them to believe that he was inevitable, that he was all-powerful, that he won some sweeping cultural mandate and America loved him. But we knew that that was never the case. And Donald Trump was only going to get more unpopular. And it was going to happen quickly. That is exactly what has happened. Not just because he is an idiot who doesn't understand the economy and has purposely broken it to serve himself and billionaires. Not just because he's throwing tens of millions of people off of their healthcare or the Epstein files. There is just so much more when it comes to criminality and cover UPS that has Donald Trump in this position, where Susie Wild, his chief of staff, The woman who was supposed to hold it all together is now breaking apart Trump's administration into little bitty factions. When he's calling out Elon, he's calling out Stephen Miller. She's calling out Donald Trump, and doing so in the worst way possible. Talking about the Epstein files. Susie Wiles confirms Trump is in the Epstein files. They were young single playboys together. Wiles also torched Pam Bondi for her handling of the Epstein matter and described J.D. Vance as a longtime conspiracy theorist. White House Chief of Staff Susie Walt confirmed that Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files, claiming the late sex offender and Trump were young single playboys together. In wide-ranging interviews with Vanity Fair, Walt also torched Attorney General Pam Bondi for her handling of the Department of Justice investigation into Epstein during the sit-downs. The Florida-born chief of staff, whom Trump calls the Ice Maiden, said she misjudged the importance of the scandal surrounding Epstein. Wiles, who also managed Trump's 2024 campaign, told Vanity Fair she has read what she described as the Epstein file. In an extraordinary and lengthy profile in Vanity Fair, Wiles blasted the decision to hand over the Epstein files to MAGA influencers in February, as well as Bondi's claim to Fox News that the so-called Epstein list was sitting on my desk for review. I think the most important piece of information in all of the conversation about Epstein is Susie Wiles saying that she has read the file, because we know that this file is comprised of a video of flight logs, which, by the way, Susie Wiles said that Donald Trump was on, that you flew on Jeffrey Epstein's plane multiple times. And remember, when those flight logs were initially released, and Donald Trump crossed out his name but left Ivanka Trump's name in there, because that's the type of guy that he is willing to throw his daughter under the bus. But what this says to me, Susie Wiles having read the Epstein file, she could not have possibly read every email, every document, every flight log, every piece of evidence seen, every photo watched, every video, all of the prison logs. It is impossible. That is an impossibility. But what it does tell me is that there is a separate Epstein file marked Donald Trump. That is what the FBI and the DOJ have been compiling. That is why there were, what was it? Thousands of overtime hours worked by hundreds of FBI agents called in to review the Epstein files and to make sure they could find every document, every photo, every video with Donald Trump in it, and make sure they could strike it, make sure they could hide it, make sure they could cover it up. That is the Epstein file. That is the secret list that Susie Wiles is referring to. That is the one that she has read. Has she read it in full? I don't know, because there's a lot of mentions of Donald Trump in the Epstein files. But we know that he was sat down in the Oval Office by Pam Bondi and Kash Patel at least those two. And there's no reason that Susie Wiles, Donald Trump's chief of staff, wouldn't be in that meeting. And he was told, you are in the Epstein files. Which, of course, Donald Trump knew because he was with Jeffrey Epstein. But he's in the files. And she has read that file that details Donald Trump's crimes, his criminality, his engagements with Epstein. That is what Susie Wiles has read. And that's what she was willing to share. So if that is what she was willing to share, imagine what she's not. If she was willing to throw Pam Bondi under the bus and say that she's a screw-up and an idiot and a failure, imagine what she's not willing to say that Pam Bondi has done, that Donald Trump has done, that Kash Patel has done. She admitted that Elon Musk is a ketamine addict, that he's a drug addict. And she admitted this. Imagine what she's hiding for this administration. It is crazy, but it will all continue to come out in court, as well as Jamie Raskin laid out right here.
So these judges are very strictly implementing the legislative intent behind the statute.
We're seeing today Donald Trump try to run that play again that he tried to run in the Epstein file 6 months ago, telling reporters that story's dead, that story's over. He's trying to do the same thing now with that second missile strike that some legal experts are calling murder in the Caribbean.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about self-protection. The same kinds of things he, of course, accused other presidents of doing, he's actually doing. It's a massive projection, and it's the same thing here. I mean, he was the one who went out with all of his people and said, we want to see the full Epstein files. They're the ones who promoted the whole QAnon story about a power elite trafficking in children and human flesh. And what do you know? That power elite is the one that Donald Trump knew integrally well, because he was Jeffrey Epstein's best friend. And the truth is going to come out now under this law. And there is a tremendous momentum behind the disclosure, not just of the grand jury records, but of all of the discovery materials. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of documents that are going to be released.
You know, I keep flashing forward these days, and I'm flashing forward a year, which I shouldn't do. I shouldn't try to be predictive in politics, especially in this era. But with all the polls indicating that the Democrats are going to win the House of Representatives in the next election, I'm imagining that year from now, when you're taking over the chairmanship of the House Judiciary Committee, and what you would have the power to investigate, including what is going on with all the contracts that are being awarded in the immigration sector and the imprisoning of people involved in all of these immigration maneuvers that the Trump administration is doing. You will be in the position to conduct those investigations.
Well, let's hope so. Of course, I'm out on the road every weekend, Lawrence. I'm in Ohio, Florida, Texas, New Jersey. We're campaigning hard, and these amazing victories you're seeing around the country are just the beginning. They're the groundswell that is going to hit a tidal wave crest in November of next year. So we're just building now. But your point is correct. We are documenting all of the outrages and all of the corruption that we're able to find out about, and we are demanding answers now, knowing that they're going to do everything they can to drag their feet and sweep it under the rug. But, $170 billion extra was voted to go to ICE, and that's huge, big-time payoff bonanza for a lot of these government contractors that are very tight with Mr. Homan and other officials in the Trump administration. And so we want to know everything about what's taking place with these homeland security, military, industrial contracts and networks that they've brought into the Trump administration. Everybody saw or at least heard about the $50,000 payoff in the kava bag pocketed by Mr. Homan, but that's just chump change compared to the hundreds of millions of dollars.
There is nothing that Donald Trump can do to cover up anymore. Everything is falling apart. His cover-up is falling apart. His lies are falling apart. His administration is falling apart. This is not going to work, and that is why now more so than ever, especially with the Friday deadline to release the full Epstein file, we have to push. It's what we're going to do on this show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around at the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Keep on fighting, y'all. Don't let him silence you, and until next time, I'll see you soon.